Why are BBS docs important? The Board of Behavioral Sciences is the governing board for California LMFT, LPCC, LCSW, and LEP licenses. In order to successfully apply for your MFT and/or PCC license, you will be sending in BBS documents as a part of your application. You will begin to complete and gather these documents while in this program as a student. You will house your BBS paperwork in your Tavera documents, and you will send them to the BBS directly once you reach the 3,000-hour total required for LMFT and/or LPCC licensure. Here we are at the BBS website, which you will become very familiar with. Here's a basic walkthrough of how to find the BBS documents needed for licensure. Keep in mind these forms are updated often by the BBS, and Pepperdine will inform you when they do. Though, when you have graduated, you will need to stay up to date with announcements and updates regarding your documents. You can find these announcements and updates at the top of the BBS homepage. By clicking into each, they provide a detailed description of form, law, and regulation changes. Click on Homepage, then Applicant, then LMFT, then Form/Pubs, then Forms. Here you will see the forms you need. Now, let's talk about the specific forms required while being an MFT trainee in this program. Let's start with the BBS Supervision Agreement. Once you accept a site offer and are assigned a primary clinical supervisor, can be an individual or triadic or group supervisor as well, a BBS Supervision Agreement will need to be completed and signed at the beginning of your supervisory relationship. Keep in mind, anytime you start a new supervisory relationship, a new BBS Supervision Agreement is needed. The BBS Supervision Agreement, once completed and signed, needs to be uploaded into Tavera under the site placement process for each new supervisory relationship you establish as an MFT trainee. Your CTC team will mark that this required item is on file, and you will be eligible to count hours as an MFT trainee while in graduate school. If this form is not on file, your CTC department will not approve hours accrued under the supervisor until the required documentation is in Tavera. Let's walk through how to fill this out. Date supervisory relationship established. This is the date your supervisory relationship started, and now when you are effectively able to begin your clinical work and count hours. Make sure to include day, month, and year. While you are a student in the program, you are considered an MFT trainee. Part 1 will then be completed by your supervisor. The only signatures that can be typed are the trainee or supervisee and supervisor initials. Make sure to put your name and supervisor's name at the top of each page. Once your supervisor signs or types their initials, they will then sign their signature. This signature must be either a wet signature, signed with a pen, or mouse drawn. It cannot be typed. You will then sign or type your own initials. Read aloud the instructions. You and your supervisor will now sign the completed BBS Supervision Agreement. It is now ready for upload into the site placement process and for your CTC's review. Here's a sample of the BBS weekly log. This form is used to track and organize all of your clinical and non-clinical training time. The categories are A. Direct counseling with individuals, A1. Diagnosis and treatment of couples, children, and families, B. Non-clinical experience, B1. Supervision, individual or triadic, B2. Supervision, group, C. Total hours per week, A plus B equals C. Let's now break down what each category on your log entails. Direct counseling with individuals, also known as direct client contact. This is the one-on-one clinical work being done in the literal therapy room. Diagnosis and treatment of couples, children, and families, also known as direct client contact. This is also considered relational hours. Pepperdine does not require relational hours for graduation. Keep in mind, for your overall California BBS MFT licensure requirements, 500 hours of your total 3,000 hours will be in this section. The California PCC licensure does not require any relational hours. The category of non-clinical experience includes supervision, psychological testing, writing clinical reports, writing process notes, client-centered advocacy, and workshops, seminars, training sessions, or conferences. You can count these hours towards your MFT licensure. However, these are not a part of Pepperdine's graduation requirements, except for client-centered advocacy. Please note the subcategories listed: supervision, individual or triadic, and group supervision. Individual supervision is one-on-one, trainee and supervisor. Triadic supervision is two-on-one, 2 trainees and 1 supervisor. Group supervision is a group of trainees no larger than 8 with 1 supervisor conducting supervision. You may engage in any type of supervision setting we just listed. Pepperdine does not require any one type. You must attend supervision each week in order to count direct client contact hours. If you do not attend, you are at risk for your hours not counting. Client-centered advocacy, CCA, is defined as including but not limited to researching, identifying, and accessing resources or other activities related to obtaining or providing services and support for clients or groups of clients receiving psychotherapy or counseling services. As you can see, CCA is vaguely defined due to the nature of advocacy that can be unique to populations. If you have any questions regarding what counts towards non-clinical experience, especially towards client-centered advocacy, please consult with your clinical supervisor. You will be under your supervisor's license, so it is up to them on what they are willing to sign off on. Always check with your supervisor first before logging hours. Your total hours per week will be calculated by Tavera and generated to summarize your hours on a BBS weekly summary of hours log. It will add together your direct client contact with your non-clinical experience. Acceptable signatures for your logs now include typed via password in Tavera, mouse-drawn or wet/hand-drawn. Here is an example of the BBS Experience Verification Form. This form is needed when ending a supervisory relationship. This can happen when you change supervisors, when you complete your traineeship at your current site, or when you graduate. This form reflects all hours gained under a specific supervisor's license, pre-degree and post-degree. You will generate this form in Tavera, select the specific supervisor's name, the dates you started working with them, reflected on your supervision agreement, and the date you stopped working with your supervisor. Tavera will generate the hours for you, and this will then be signed by your supervisor. Acceptable signatures for the experience verification form now include typed via password in Tavera, mouse-drawn, or wet/hand-drawn. As you log your hours in Tavera, make sure you are going slow, being organized, and logging each hour under the correct supervisor and category. Be sure to verify that all hours are accounted for in Tavera, as this form is what the BBS will use to count and track your hours for licensure. If hours are not correctly inputted, you are at risk for those hours not counting. Over the course of your 3,000 hours, you will most likely be working at many different sites with multiple different supervisors. This can mean a lot of paperwork. Each original supervisor agreement and experience verification form will need to be submitted to the BBS for your hours to count and for you to become licensed as an LMFT and/or LPCC. Please keep these forms organized and saved in Tavera.